Hello, hello, hello. What's going on out there, guys? I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Mannimal Research. I guess you guys can tell by looking at that mug right beside me there that our boy Ricky ain't with us tonight. He had something come up, so he called to see if Walls could step in, and of course Walls is down for anything. Y'all know that.
That's right.
Everybody out there knows Walls. I ain't got to introduce him. How's it going tonight, buddy?
I'm going all right, man. Waiting on these storms and trying to get through this pandemic crap.
I hear that. I see you got your beautiful little Bigfoot foot up behind you.
Yep. Got that back there. Got my couple keychain. Got the keychain with me. Got one hiding back there. He's hiding back there up in the hill there.
Where's your keychains at?
There's one.
Guys, we just had those special made. We had some keychains made up, the Bigfoot back there behind him, and we had some smaller ones. I don't have any handy right now. There's our logo right there. But yeah, we're going to be selling those on our website. There you go. Wake up, buddy. We're going to be selling those here coming up soon on our website. We want to give a special thank to Hooked in a Flash. She did all those for us, and on an upcoming episode, I'll have more of her information to share. I wasn't really prepared tonight. But again, we're going to be selling those along with a couple other things on Mannimal Research. That's our website, guys. Go check that out. And more importantly, while you're there, report your encounters, guys. If y'all have had any encounters yourself, we'd like to hear about them. Or if you know anyone that has, get in touch with them and have them go and report their encounters for us, guys. We'd appreciate it.
Yep.
We don't have to tell anybody who you are. If you want to remain anonymous, that's something that we can respect, and we can do that for you. But we're not going to learn any more from these things, and until we get some encounters, get some eyewitness encounters out there that we can share with people. That's the reason we're doing this. We're trying to learn as much about behavior as we can.
Right. Have you thought about what I asked you a couple of days ago? About, thinking that maybe they use certain things, certain animals to their advantage to hunt?
No, I haven't given that much thought. That's something we could talk about.
Yeah.
A little bit later. I'm not sure about that. I feel like that's opening up a whole new can of worms that we would need more than a couple minutes to delve into. But yeah, we'll talk about that.
I gotta say hi to everybody. Everybody said Papa Two Bear. Hi, Jordan. And I believe
that beautiful Jordan out there. What's she doing?
Yeah, she's out there. I guess she ain't working.
No, heck no, she ain't working.
Oh, Jonathan's on here.
Yeah, what's up, Jonathan? Papa? Part of our regulars. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and all of you guys I know already have, but for those of you that haven't, hit that subscribe button for us, guys.
Yes, grow us, keep us growing.
We sure would appreciate it. All right, well, me and you guys had a chance to get out a few days ago. Property up on the mountain. We found what looked like a partial print. We actually took a cast of it.
Hang on,
don't have any pictures of it.
I got my wife to go get it. I got it cleaned up as much as I can. It needs a little work on it. It's got a lot of twigs in it.
It looked a lot like the top half of a foot. Looked like we got 5 toes, a really big toe, and then 4 other toes alongside of it. The cast didn't turn out as well as I was hoping.
There we go.
There you go. Can't really tell a whole lot there. Yeah, but
this is the big toe. If you lay it flat where it was, how plaster works is upside down. This is the big toe. You have a toe here, and there's a toe here, and there's the pinky toe right here. But, for a couple of amateurs, it turned out fairly well. I've cleaned it up as much as I can. It's got still leaves and stuff in there. I can still see the print. And the way what we saw, it actually matches. As if nobody saw him back there, I'll get a close up of his foot here. See how big that foot is. It's almost matching that one. And no, we couldn't have done this in the forest. So if anybody wants to say anything, but I'm thinking about. I don't know if maybe if you want me to, I could probably get some paint, spray paint it, and maybe get it come out a little bit more.
I don't know. I kind of feel like that might ruin it.
Thinking well, that's fine. That's why I was wanting to ask you. I didn't know, but yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, guys. I mean, this was a place where we actually went before an episode back where we had peanut butter, or he had peanut butter up there, and we had pictures of a small version, but we didn't have no plaster. And this time I think we got lucky enough and actually got a decent. I mean, for an amateur, I mean, we did fairly well, and it was very pine needles. I mean, it was a whole lot of pine needles in it. So
yeah, there was a lot of debris in that track. Ain't no telling how long it'd been there.
But I mean, you could tell.
We saw a lot of what appeared to be tree structures out there. Something going on up there in that property. We can't talk a whole lot about it because it's private property up there, and the person that owns it don't want us to talk about it.
Right.
So we can't give a whole lot of details about it, but there's definitely something going on up there, we believe. All right. Well, tonight, Liam, talk about tonight's guest. You got anything else, Derek?
I'm actually excited about this. Even though with the pandemic going on up, in the area that this gentleman's at, and it's kind of I'm excited about it to know what exactly he's heard and what he's seen, and kind of excited about it. I think the fans are going to like this too.
We got Mr. Dean Gleason going to be joining us here in just a couple minutes. Dean lives up in Upper New York. He lives close to the Canadian border, so about as far north of New York as you can go.
Yeah.
And he does some research up there. He's got some property, and he's had several sightings up there. And Dean's a good guy. Been talking to him quite a bit on Facebook, and got some interesting stuff happening up there. And Walls, if you're ready, buddy, we'll go ahead and bring him on.
Yeah, I'm sure the fans are waiting. They don't want to see my ugly face no more.
Oh, selling yourself short, buddy. I think you're pretty.
Well, I cry.
Dean, how's it going, buddy?
How you doing, gentlemen?
How you doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well, sir. How's it going up in New York this evening?
Well, we're going through what everybody else is going through up here and trying to get through it as best we can.
Yeah, you guys are getting hit hard, ain't you?
Not where we are. I'm the county that I live in. We have about 100 cases for the whole county, and we're the biggest county in New York State. So, that's not too bad. And everybody's cooperating pretty well with the restrictions that we're, having to live under right now. And it's getting a little bit boring, a little bit tedious, but you got to do what you got to do in this situation.
Yeah.
We got guy right here. Papa Bear says he's up in the same area you are. Can you read that?
Yep. See that? Yep. Hi, Papa Bear.
Yeah, good deal. All right, Dean, tell us what group are you a part of up there? Who are you affiliated with?
Well, I'm the director of Seaway Valley Bigfoot Research. We've been in existence for 6 or 7 years, maybe around that long. Started out just me and a couple other people, and we've grown quite a bit. We have quite a few members, especially on Facebook. Our Facebook page has been growing pretty well, and I try to sift through the stuff the other groups are putting out and put up what I think is good evidence, and try to weed out the things that I think probably should be scrutinized a little bit more. And then our members post some things from time to time, and we try to repost reports that we get in when we do, of course, with the witness's permission, which sometimes you can't get, but they want to report it to somebody anyway. So we go ahead and take the report and listen to their stories.
No, good deal. Good deal. And as far as your activity, has that been happening on a property that you own, or?
Most of it. I've been out on some other people's property too, but the majority of the encounters that I've been having has been on my own property. I really feel that I have a family group living there.
Okay.
I know I have at least 3 individuals because I've seen, well, 3 different size tracks. Plus, I've seen, I don't know if I've seen the same adult more than once, but I have seen an adult Bigfoot and I've seen a juvenile. In fact, I had a close up personal encounter with the juvenile. I walked right up on him. And
Really?
oh yeah, I was only maybe 40 feet from him, and scared the snot out of me. I thought it was a hunter in a ghillie suit when I first saw him.
Really?
Oh yeah, I had been black powder hunting that day, and I shot at a buck out in the in a hayfield, and he took off and went into the brush. And black powder, you know, it's not accurate. It doesn't have a lot of stopping power, so a lot of times, you know, you have to blood trail a deer when you do that. So I was looking for a blood trail, and I probably spent an hour looking and couldn't find anything. So I made a big loop and came up around behind where I'd went in. And I've been having trouble with a neighbor's son sneaking over onto my property. I've had to ask him to leave several times. So when I got back into the hardwood, I looked over and I saw what I thought was another hunter sitting on the ground in a ghillie suit. And my mind went right to him because of the problems I'd had with him. So I figured, well, I'm just going to kind of nonchalantly walk towards him. And then when I get close enough, I'm going to say something to him. So I'm looking over, you know, the other direction and looking up in the air, trying to pretend I don't see him there. And I got about 40 feet away and I stopped and I said, "Hey, buddy, what's up?" And then it stood up and I was like, holy cow, that's not a person. And he was probably about 4 feet tall. Kind of a brownish, matty kind of hair, except for his face. His face was pretty bald. He didn't have a lot of hair on his face and his hands. And he just stared at me for maybe a second or two, and then he turned around and just walked away. He wasn't afraid. Didn't seem like he was, you know, in a big hurry to get away from me. And I just stood there with my mouth wide open, watching him walk away.
How far were you from him?
Maybe 40 feet. I was right up on top of him.
Didn't hear no.
Could you make anything out about the face?
Oh yeah, I could see the face real well. The skin texture was kind of a shiny, dark brown, and he had big brown eyes. I was close enough, I could see the whites of his eyes. And he just stared right at me with those big old brown doe eyes, and then just turned around and boogied. But like I said, he went away at a leisurely pace like he wasn't afraid. And
Wow.
So right after that, I decided that maybe I should start gifting them back there. So I started putting things out for them. I found a stump that was visible from where I have my deer stand and everything. And I would occasionally leave things there for them, and they were being taken.
Like what? Give us an example.
Well, I would take things I figured they couldn't get. Like I would take them cookies back there and leave them. Packages of cookies, not just loose cookies in a package. Yeah. I could tell when they took them and when some other animal got into them, because if they took them, they took the whole package. But if something else, like maybe a coyote or a squirrel or a raccoon got into them, they would rip it open and leave the package there.
Yeah.
But when the packages were gone, I was pretty sure that's, you know, they had picked it up and took it away. And that led to another sighting. I had taken one of the other members of my group back there to show him around, and him and his wife had both came with me. And we spent the whole day traveling back and forth between my property and my brother's property. And if you look at the pictures I sent you, there's some caves on my brother's property. And there's a picture of my 2 other associates with me standing next to the mouth of the cave to give it some scale. But anyways, that was the same day as that picture was taken. I went back and put some gifts out on the stump. We walked around, and I had been back there probably a week before that cutting firewood. And I thought I saw something move maybe 100 yards away from where the gifting area was. So him and I walked over there and looked around, and we could see where something big had walked through the long grass and had come out of the buckbrush. but we didn't find any tracks or anything. So I told him, I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll take you over and I'll show you where I saw the juvenile. I think it was the fall before that. So I went over there and I was showing him that, and his wife was kind of tired because we've been doing a lot of walking that day. So she decided to stay in the truck. So after him and I got done walking around in the woods, we came back out, and she was out of the truck, and she was staring back towards the corner where we just came from. And she says, guys, something just came out of the brush. So I had a pair of binoculars in my truck, and we got them out, and we were a good 400 yards away from where she was pointing at. And there the juvenile was again. He had come out of the brush, and he was standing in the long grass watching us. And he stood there long enough that we all got to look at him through the binoculars. And he kept turning his head and looking behind him. So I followed his gaze, and I saw the brush moving up behind where he was. So I think maybe Big Mama or Big Papa was standing there behind him, but knew enough not to come out while we were still, within view of where they were.
Now, was it that same juvenile that you believe y'all saw?
I'm guessing it was, unless they have more than one.
Okay.
But it was a juvenile. It looked like about the same size as I remember seeing him. He might have been a little taller, but it had been, a little while since I'd seen him. So he might have grown a little bit over that period of time, but I'm pretty sure it was the same one.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Now, were either of those your first sighting?
No, I had seen a big male probably about 5 years before that on my brother's property. My brother had seen a moose 2 or 3 days before this. And up where we live, we're kind of north of where the Adirondack Mountains are. So seeing a moose up by us is a big deal. The moose usually hang out down in the mountains more than they do in our area. But every once in a while, one will wander up that way. So I had stopped at my brother's place before I went hunting that day, just to talk with him for a little while. And he had told me about seeing the moose. And he'd taken some pictures of it. It actually had walked out into the field with his cows. So I went back and I sat most of the day on deer watch and hadn't seen anything. And just about evening, my stepfather was going to feed his beef cows, which were on the other side of the road from where I was. And he was going to the Amish cheese factory and getting the whey from the cheese. It's a byproduct that the cheese puts, that's a waste product from the cheese, but it's still got a lot of protein in it, so it's good for cows. So my stepfather would go and get the whey, and he would feed it to his beef cows. So anyways, he started up his truck to take the feed over to the cows. So they all started making a lot of noise. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, right directly out in front of me, I heard, it sounded like a very large man that was frustrated. It was like a great big, oh, like that. Except, 10 million times louder than what I just did. And I had never seen a moose in person before. So I thought, I was thinking to myself, I don't know what kind of sound a moose makes. So that was what I was assuming I was going to see, because I could see the brush moving. And I knew it was something bigger than a deer coming through there. Well, then all of a sudden it stood up, and I saw it from probably the shoulder up, because the brush was pretty thick in there. But it was what I'm guessing was a large male. And he looked around, and I don't think he realized I was there, because I was, upwind from him. So he couldn't have smelled me. And I was in camo, and I was sitting kind of in the shade or the shadow of the trees. So I don't think he knew I was sitting there. But he looked around for a second, and then he took off walking through the buckbrush, just like he was walking across the room. And I don't know if you folks have got a lot of experience with buckbrush or not, but it's not the easiest stuff in the world to walk through. And he was just boogieing through it like it was nothing. So that was my first actual eyes-on sighting of one.
So this was at your brother's place, you said?
Yeah.
Do y'all's property join? Are they connected?
They're connected by other people's woods. There's a lot of woods between my property and his property. So, it's, not unthinkable that they could travel back and forth to my property and his property very easily. There's a lot of woods up there. I know a lot of people, when they think about New York, they think about it's all settled and all, there's no rule, no woods, but there really is. You get north of Albany, there's a ton of wilderness. And especially where I am, there's, just a few towns. There's only one city in my whole county, and it's probably about the size of a good big town. It's not even the size of a city as you would think of a city.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, New York is one of the better, more well known states for Bigfoot activity. Wouldn't you say, like Upper New York?
It'd be Upper New York. That's where all the woods are at.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are so close to Canada.
Drove through there.
I can literally see Canada from my front room window. The St. Lawrence River runs. There's a little 2-lane highway right in front of my house, and then a couple of houses. But then there's St. Lawrence River is right there. I can see the St. Lawrence River from my house, and then Canada is on the other side of it. And there's 2 international bridges right near my house. One about 5 miles north of me, and the other one's about 20 miles. The other way around, 20 miles north of me, and one about 5 miles south of me. I confused them there for a second, but I had the 2 international bridges right here. I'm right kind of in between them, and it's like I said, right adjacent to Canada. And I've been over in Canada, and I've went on a couple of investigations over there, and it's just like it is here. It's all woods except for the scattered towns, and Canada is even more sparsely populated than we are. So. A lot of wilderness, a lot of habitat.
Now, do you get to like interact personally with a lot of Canadian people? Like, do you know a lot of Canadian people?
Oh yeah, I sure do. Yeah,
I'm curious as to what their view on the topic is as compared to ours. Like how do they feel about Sasquatch?
From what I have gathered from my conversations, they're a lot more open to it than we are, as far as the country is concerned. I think it's because of our media here. Our media makes fun of people that see Sasquatch or believe in Sasquatch a lot more than they do in Canada. You'll see things on Canadian TV where they'll have a report. Oh, so and so saw a Bigfoot, or a whatever they wanted to call it over there, Sasquatch, depending on where you are, and the reporter actually takes it seriously. Mm-hmm. Now, I remember a couple of years ago, there was somebody saw one up by Saranac Lake, which is in the Adirondacks, and it was on the local TV station up here, and the guy was making fun of the guy.
Yeah,
it was just a big difference.
Yeah, I shared a video on our group, Mannimal Research, on Facebook. This just a couple of days ago, might have even been yesterday or the day before. It was a Thinker Thunker video, and I share a lot of that guy's stuff. I love that guy. He has a way of just breaking things down and making it easy for anyone to understand. And he actually pointed out that how the media portrays Bigfoot, and he gave examples, and I thought that was really interesting. How the media, this wasn't a live shoot, but the news channel chose to show this reporter smiling and laughing instead of, it wasn't live, it wasn't spur of the moment. They chose to have that in there, and I thought that said a lot. That speaks a lot to how the American media deals with this subject, and I don't think that's right.
Yeah, and a lot of them, like I've seen a report. I don't know what TV station it was. It was something I watched on Facebook where they were doing a report, and there was a sighting of 2 Bigfoot, a female and a male Bigfoot. And the reporter was like, "What do you mean? There's more than one? I thought there was only one." And that's a lot of people think that. They think Bigfoot, okay, there's a Bigfoot. There's not, a breeding population of Bigfoot. There's one Bigfoot for the whole country. Seems to be how they think, some of them.
But you think Canada as a whole, as a country, are more receptive to it?
Yeah, I think they're more open and more, sympathetic to the possibility that Bigfoot exists than the average American is.
And I'd heard that before. I wanted to get your take on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now, going back to your first sighting, I'm sorry, I might have missed it, but remind me, how far away were you from the big guy?
Oh, gee, I probably was maybe 75 yards from him, maybe.
So I couldn't tell a whole lot of detail.
No, but you could tell what it was. You could tell it wasn't a person.
It wasn't a bear.
It wasn't a bear. A bear wouldn't walk like that. A bear, you really couldn't see you could kind of see facial expressions on it, but not a lot of detail of it, but you could see the eyes and, you could see his mouth was moving, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't
And
really making any noise, but he was, I don't know, pursing his lips or whatever however you want to say it, like a person would,
yeah, yeah. So you've talked about 3 sightings, and I believe you told me you've had about 5 of them. Uh-oh, where'd you go, Dean?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we lost Dean. Dadgummit, that was getting good. Wait a minute, he might be back. Come on, buddy, where you at?
You have to come back. There he is. Phone probably died.
I
Battery.
have.
He might have forgot about the battery.
Dean was having some technical issues before we came on, guys. He had had it pulled up on a tablet, but wasn't having much luck with it, so had to go.
Well, we
back
all
to
know
the
that everybody being staying at home, the Wi-Fi, everything is swarmed with people on it. So we're going to have issues. I mean, we're not high dollar like these big TV guys, and can have power to block out people. So,
And that's a warning that StreamYard, that's the service that we use, StreamYard. They have that on their page now. Talk about with the pandemic that's going on. A lot of people are at home, and a lot of people, with more people at home, you have more people that are bored and they're doing more stuff like this. So
God, yeah.
it causes some problems. So we anticipate
I've
that.
noticed on my gaming and everything. So I mean, it's everything. I mean, it's not just us. I see a lot of people on here. It's like we got, I don't know how many views. They don't show on my end. How many people we got on there?
Yeah, Tommy had a good point here. You know the difference between northern USA and southern Canada? Neither does Sasquatch. It's only on the map. You see the difference.
That's right.
Great point. Great point, Tommy.
Yeah.
Tommy and I actually talked for a little bit today. I met him, and we become Facebook friends. He joined our group, and Tommy has had an encounter, a good encounter. He's shared it with a couple other people, and Tommy's a good guy. I appreciate you coming checking us out, Tommy.
He got also on there talking about checking the records and stuff. I seen that where he just put that on there. Talking about notice a huge influx reports of sightings in the early mid 70s and everything. I know on the BFRO where most people go and check things, it does show you can pull up Canada. I mean, it pulls up different areas up there. So I know they're there.
Another guy I just met today. This is Joe. He runs a show on YouTube too, called Beyond the Woodline. Good point here. Also, people are surprised when they're told about small tracks, 3 inches to 8 inches. Yeah, that's a good point, Joe. Yeah, I'm gonna give this guy here a plug. Everybody go check out his show on YouTube. It's called Beyond the Woodline. I had it down here, and I was going to mention it here in just a little bit, but I looked at it, and it seems like he's got a pretty good show. Looks like we might have Dean back.
Sorry about that, guys.
There you are, buddy. That's all right.
The pandemic ate my Wi-Fi connection, I guess.
Yeah. So what I was saying was, you've gone over 3 visual sightings, and I believe you told me that you had about 5 of them on that property. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. The other one came maybe 3 or 4 days after I saw the juvenile close up. I had gone back to go deer hunting again. By this time, it was the beginning of rifle season up here. And I had backed my truck up in between 2 round bales. It was raining and I didn't feel like getting wet. So I thought I'd sit in my truck for a little while and watch the field. And it had just stopped raining. And I was just thinking about getting out of my truck when right straight out in front of me, there was a little break in the tree line. And one of the adults in the family group came out and stood there for a second or two and looked at me. And I got a really, really good sighting of it. I mean, it was a long ways away, but I could tell it was a squatch. And it stood there for a few seconds and stared at me and then turned around and walked away.
How far was this?
Oh, it was quite a ways away. It was a good 300-400 yards away. It was way across the field from me. But you could tell what it was. It was too tall to be a man, and it was, big and dark colored. And I got thinking about that later, and I thought, gee, maybe that was kind of like a thank you to me because of the fact I was right up on top of the baby one just a few days before that, and I didn't do anything to hurt it. And I got thinking about that later. Maybe it was, well, then it could have been the other way around too. It could have been a warning saying to me, hey, buddy, I'm here and I'm a lot bigger. Or it could have been, hey, thank you for not hurting my child. That was the two things that I thought about with that sighting.
Have you tried to go, have you went back and tried to do it again and see if to find out, to debunk it, if it was a warning or a thank you? Or
I'm thinking, I'm leaning more towards the thank you part, because after that, they seem to be a little less skittish around me. I mean, they don't let me see them, but I know they're around when I'm back there because they'll knock on a tree and let me know they're there. I've had numerous times when they've done that. They'll whoop at me. They'll give me a couple of short whoops. I had one answer me one day. It was back there and it was knocking on trees for about a half an hour. And I don't know if it knew I was there or not. I was up in my tree stand, which I'm pretty well concealed when I'm up in there. And I was listening to it. So I decided I'll just see how it reacts if I whoop at it. So I gave it a couple of short whoops and it gave me 3 knocks back. And then it went away. But one of the other sightings I had was, it wasn't a full-on sighting. It was more of I saw the outline of it. It was dark. And I had been deer hunting that day, and it was the last weekend of deer hunting season up there, and I'd shot a buck. And the buck was out in the field. And I had about 1.5 miles to walk to go back to get my truck to load the deer in. So I went back to my truck, and it was starting to get dark. And I put my stuff away. Since it was the last weekend of deer season, I decided, well, I'll have everything all packed. So when I get home, all I have to do is just carry it all in the house and not have to screw around with it in the morning. So I put my rifle away and I put my other hunting gear all away. And I took off my hunting jacket and my hunting shirt so I wouldn't get them covered with blood, because I'm guessing you guys have probably done some hunting. So when you field dress a deer, it can be kind of a messy situation. So I just stripped down to my T-shirt and I drove my truck back to where my deer was, and my deer had been moved. It was not where I left it. There's a small drainage ditch between the field and the woods, and the deer had been moved over to the drainage ditch. And so I was like, holy cow. So I'm thinking, well, there must be one around, because I knew it was too big of a deer for the coyotes to have moved it that fast. Plus, there was no drag marks. So,
do you have any wolves in that area?
No. The biggest thing we have is coyotes up there as far as a predator animal.
Yeah, but a wolf or a coyote or something like that, you'd see drag marks.
There was not a drag mark at all. And even if the other things we have for prey animals is we have bobcats and things like that, but a bobcat's way too small to move a deer like that. So anyways, I went over, I pulled the deer up out of the ditch, and I started to field dress it. And all the while I was field dressing the deer, one stood off just out of sight up in the brush, huffing at me. He was going, oof, oof, like that at me. So I finished up gutting the deer, and I got it in my truck, and I grabbed my flashlight. By this time, it was getting pretty dark. And I shined my flashlight over in the direction where I heard the noise coming from. and all I basically saw was a real big outline of of the Squatch, and it turned and walked away as soon as I shined the light on it. So,
But buddy, I believe if it were me, I would have just gone ahead and either left the deer for him or just thrown the thing in the back of the truck and field dressed it somewhere else.
believe me, that went through my mind. Maybe I should just load this and get out of here. But I was like, well, it doesn't seem like it's being aggressive. It's just over there. And
Yeah,
it didn't start actually doing the huffing at me until I actually started doing the gutting of the deer. Then it started doing the huffing. So
I wonder if that was something saying, hey, leave something for us.
yeah.
Or saying, hey, we don't want you doing that here.
Lots of times I don't. If it's during like the middle of the season, I usually will throw the whole deer in the truck and take it somewhere else and do it. But it was the last day of the season. I wasn't going to be back there again till spring, during when turkey comes up. So I was like, I'll just do it here. I figured the coyotes would clean it up. Coyotes and the raccoons and the woodchucks, or not the woodchucks, the porcupines would have it cleaned up pretty quick. So I, that was my thinking at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of giggle about when Wayne said that. I'd just leave it or put it in the truck. More hunters are probably going to grab it and take off. They ain't going to leave a good kill if they've been out there for 3 or 4 days, and that might be the only kill they got, and be like, I ain't leaving this.
Yeah.
No, I'd be like, dude, you can forget it. It's my deer.
That was my only deer of the season. I hadn't even seen a buck all year until then, and where I live, the county we live in, you can't shoot a doe.
Right.
You can get a doe permit, but you can't shoot it in the part of St. Lawrence County I live in. There's only certain townships they'll let you hunt in.
Right.
And
Dean, did you see this from Pappy?
let me see.
That's what I was talking about wolves. The timber wolf is a very large,
Right.
big animal.
I have never heard of one in our area, nor have I heard of a cougar in our area. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I just I've never personally heard of one.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Rare if you can find them because they're kind of supposedly extinct, but they're still around. Yeah.
I've heard of people seeing some pretty big ones in other areas, but and then lately we've been starting to get some black bears wandering back into our area, which was something that we didn't have for a long time. In fact, it's still illegal. It's still illegal to shoot them in the part of the county I live in. There's a kind of it's not a major highway, but it's a pretty good sized highway called Route 11 that runs kind of towards the southern part of St. Lawrence County, and you have to be on the southern side of that road to hunt bear. On the northern side of it, you can't. Wow. And I'm on the northern side of it where you can't hunt bear. And of all the years hunting, I've only ever seen one, and it was a cub, and that was, just a quick sighting of one running up a hill. So
yeah, Pappy's saying that he's in northern Lewis County, so I don't know where that is in relation
Lewis
to yours.
County is kind of south of where I'm in St. Lawrence.
Okay.
Yeah, Lewis County is down towards Watertown. It's down towards the Fort Drum area, down in that area. Now, Fort Drum, there's sightings up on Fort Drum periodically. Okay. Fort Drum's where the 10th Mountain Division is. You've probably heard of that because they're one of the most deployed divisions in the Army, so they're a lot of times on the news. So that's their base is right up here near us. And they, I guess during the Cold War, that's where they sent soldiers to train to fight in Europe because a lot of the terrain is similar to the eastern part of Europe towards where the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc was. So that's where they used to do a lot of their winter training was up here. Well, they still do winter training up here, but I'm old enough to remember the Cold War, so that was when they were doing the real serious thing, thinking about the Russians. They did a lot of the training up here. So, and I had an interesting conversation with some Army guys one day at a restaurant. I was wearing my Seaway Valley Bigfoot Research hoodie I have, and a bunch of them were in there eating. It was like a little buffet restaurant up here. I got talking to one of them, and he said, well, we have sightings up there, but they don't let us talk about it, is what he said to me.
Who said this?
One of the Army guys I was talking to. And he told me, yeah, we do have sightings up on Fort Drum, but they don't let us talk about it.
Well, that gives you theory right there. You know, most of these sightings, there's a base somewhere nearby. That gives the theory of knowing that the government knows something about these things.
Oh, I truly believe they do. I truly, there's enough empirical evidence out there that they know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk till we're blue in the face about the government
Oh, yeah.
knowing it. Nothing's going to change, man. We all think that they know, but nothing's going to change. They're going to keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, and I guess they have their reasons. I've heard some of the theories why they do it.
Yeah.
Some of them make sense, but some of them don't.
There you go.
And,
Papa, you guessed Papa Two Bears, his last comment there. He's a retired Army, and thank you for your service, sir.
Yes, thank you.
They told him, don't speak about it.
Yep. I was reading an account that some retired Army people, I guess, put up. They were training out in the Rockies, and they were doing a thing where they had two groups, and one group had to find the other, kind of like a little war maneuver kind of thing they were doing. And a group of Squatches walked by one of the patrols, and at first they thought it was the other group trying to sneak up on them until they got closer and saw that they weren't people, that it was 3 or 4 Bigfoot were walking through the area. And they were told by their commanding officers, do not put that in the report, what you saw.
I believe.
That's crazy.
But, I got another little funny story, too, about the first time I ever knew there was Squatches in the area was I found tracks. And when I was a kid, my grandfather, he was, your typical North Country sportsman. He taught me how to do everything. He taught me how to fish, how to trap, how to hunt. How to clean animals, how to skin animals. He taught me all of that when I was a kid. And him and I used to muskrat trap back when it was worth doing. Now, with all the animal rights activists out there and stuff, you can't wear fur anymore and things like that. People really don't do it much anymore. But back when I was young, there was still some money to be made in trapping. And we used to trap muskrats down on Chippewa Creek in northern New York. And there was one section of the creek my grandfather never trapped, and I always wondered why. And I don't know if he ever saw anything or not, but I'm thinking he did. Because after he retired from trapping, he gave me all the stuff, and I was doing it on my own. So I saw no reason not to trap down in that part of the creek, so I put some traps out down there. And several times I went to check my traps, and they had been sprung, but there was nothing in them. So I kind of thought that was kind of strange. And then one day I was going to check them, and I saw that there was something in one of the traps and it was still alive, I was using the humane traps where they were kind of an instant kill trap. So I was surprised I had something that was still alive in one of the traps. And when I got to it, it turned out I caught a great big, huge snapping turtle.
Oh, wow.
Back fin. And I don't know if you guys know anything about snapping turtles, but they're probably one of the meanest animals that are alive. I mean, they'll take your hand off in a split second.
Oh, yeah.
They got those big, powerful jaws, and they're mean. Well, anyways, I'm looking at the snapping turtle, and I'm trying to figure out how in the heck I'm going to get him out of the trap without losing a finger or two. So finally, I figured, well, I'll put a boat oar near his head and distract him, and I'll reach down and I'll get the trap off his back foot. So I was successful, and I got the trap off him, and he kind of snarled at me and gave me the little turtle finger and jumped back in the creek and took off. So I went to reset the trap, and I looked over, and coming out of the swamp over to the trap was a set of tracks. And when the mud kind of cleared and I looked, they looked like barefoot human tracks. And I was like, holy cow, that's got to be a Bigfoot. There's nothing else that could have done that. That's too big for a human. So I reset the trap, and I noticed that the tracks just came out to where the trap was, or the tracks, excuse me, come out to where the trap was, and then they went into the creek. So I'm thinking that the Bigfoot came out to see what was in the trap and saw that it was a snapping turtle, and came to the same conclusion I did. I don't want to lose a finger trying to get this turtle, and just said the heck with it. It went into the creek. So I took my boat and I went over to the other side and I went along the shore and I found the spot where it came up on the other side. You could see where it dragged itself up out of the water and took off up into the hardwood. So that was the first time I ever knew that there was a Bigfoot in our area at all. And I was probably maybe 16, 17 years old at the time. And I didn't tell anybody for years. I didn't tell anybody about that because, you know, I was a kid and I figured people would think I was lying or crazy or both, you know?
Yeah.
But I used to have a Jeep, and on the front of the Jeep, you know, where a lot of people have a banner on their windshield that says "Gone fishing" or "Gone hunting" or something like that. Well, I bought one that said "Gone squatching" and put on my Jeep, and I used to get more stories told to me because of that Jeep than any other thing I've ever done, more than the Facebook page or anything, because people would see me in the parking lot and they would come over and tell me their story. And I heard some really, really good stories over the years because I had that on my Jeep. It was pretty interesting. And the stories always started out the same way. Don't think I'm crazy, but, and then they would tell you the story.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have encountered that too.
Oh yeah. That's always the opening sentence.
Yeah, I do that when Wayne's out with me. I actually handed out one of my cards out when I went to the doctor, and I was just waiting for her to go, what? And I was like, we ain't crazy. we do it. Showed her stuff and everything else. So, yeah, it happens.
There's a farmer about 8 or 9 miles away from where my property is. And he was one of the people that came up to me in the parking lot and said, you know, don't think I'm crazy, but he said he had something in his cornfield that was knocking his corn down. And he thought maybe he had a bear. Yep. So him and his buddy went back there to look around, and they found some tracks in the mud. And his buddy says, I've seen bear tracks before, and these don't look anything like a bear track. He goes, I'm not sure what these are. And neither one of them were Bigfoot believers. They didn't believe in Bigfoot. Wow. And he said they smelled it first. They got that, you know, that pungy odor that they say they give off, which I personally have never smelled. Even when I was near the little one, I didn't smell that. But he said he smelled it first. And then he saw the corn moving and he looked, and here come a Bigfoot walking down the middle of the corn rows with an armful of corn. And he saw them and turned around and went back the way it came. And he looked at his buddy and he goes, did you see that? And he goes, yes, I did. And I'm glad you're fatter than I am because it'll catch you before it catches me. Let's get the hell back to the truck.
That's like Rick. That sounds like Rick right there.
Yeah. Something Rick would say.
And then another report I got was a young man said that, they lived on the other side of the valley from where my brother's property is. And he had put some bales of hay on his four-wheeler to take him to feed to the young stock up on top of the hill from where their barn was. And they had a silage wagon up there, which is, for you people that don't know what silage is, it's chopped corn or chopped hay that the farmers feed to the cows. Well, anyways, they had a silage wagon up there and it had corn in it. And he said he went up to unload the hay and he saw something moving over by the wagon. So he thought one of the cows was trying to stick his head up into the corn. So he went over there to shoo the cow away. And when he walked around to the other side, there was a squatch on the other side of the wagon picking kernels of corn out of the silage. Wow. And he said, holy cow. He says, and he took off in one direction and the squatch took off in the other direction. He says, he got back to the barn and he says, Dad, there's a big monkey up on top of the hill. And his dad goes, a big monkey? And he goes, yeah, there's a big monkey up on top of the hill. And his dad told me later, he says, well, he was a little too panicky to be lying about anything. He says, so he stopped milking and he went up to the barn and got the deer rifle. And he started to go up the hill and he looked around. He says to his son, he goes, where's the four-wheeler? And he goes, I left it up there. And he goes, well, you big dummy, the monkey's probably riding the four-wheeler around the field by now. And he's like, no, Dad, I'm not lying. He says, there's really a big monkey up there. So he said they went up there and he said he saw tracks. And there was a little bit of corn spilled on the ground that it dropped when it took off. Yeah.
Daryl's asking you a question. He wants to know if any you had a chance to take any pictures during your sightings.
Yeah, I got a picture of the juvenile from a distance. It was one
Now
of the pictures.
let me see if this might be. You sent me this. I mean, that's far off. What's going
It was
on
quite a
here?
ways away.
Can you zoom in on that, Wayne?
I can't. That's all I can do right there. Now
Yeah, right
what's
there,
going on
yeah.
there, Dean? What's that?
That was where the juvenile was standing. He was standing on that long grass, and he kept ducking down in, and we could see him moving down there. We were looking at him for the binoculars. That was zoomed in as best I could with the phone camera I had at the time. I hadn't taken any other thing with me because I wasn't expecting to see anything. This was in the middle of the day. I went back there to show my other research associate around a little bit, and we had put out the offerings. I put some candy and some cookies out that day for him on a stump that would be to the left of where that picture was taken. And he had come out of that brush and he was standing there in the long grass. That was about the best I could do. I circled there so you could see a little bit where he was standing. But he was right there in that long grass. You can see like the top of his head sticking up.
I see a black mass, something there, but
yeah, it was hard to see. Like I said, we were a long ways away. That's probably 400 yards at the least.
Yeah. Now, what about some of these tracks? That looks like a pretty good track right there.
Yeah, that was not taken by me. That was taken by a member of my group who was a U.S. Customs inspector. And that was taken Bangor, New York, up in that area.
Okay. Yeah. That's a big old print right there.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, that looks like where something had been bedding down.
Yeah, there was a couple of them right next to each other. And it looked like it was too big to be a deer, in my estimation. It was a very large bedding area. So I took a picture of it, and that might have been where one of them had spent the night. That is also up in the Bangor area too. I believe that was also taken by the same person. I think that was another one that he submitted to us. The U.S. Customs inspector that lives up there. I sent those in.
I wonder if that's two different prints.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That looks like more than one creature walking around, and as close as those prints are together, I don't know. That has to be more than one.
I think that was two of them walking next to each other, if I remember correctly. He submitted those quite a long time ago to me.
Okay.
I was trying to go back and find some of the best ones I had to send to you.
Okay, yeah, you sent me some others, but it kind of limits you on what you can put up and on how many. So I got as many as I could on there.
The ones in the mud that I sent you, the pictures of the tracks in the mud, and the ones that were kind of faded out, they were kind of melded out a little bit. Those were ones I did personally find. And there's some that were taken at night. They're kind of in the dark there. They're a little bit darker tone to them. Those were also some that I found.
Have you been out lately?
I was out excuse me. I went out the weekend before the pandemic really hit up here. Before they started limiting our travel and stuff, I went out that weekend for a little while. Didn't have any luck that weekend. I just hit my normal spots to see if I could, maybe pick up a track or two from, from the mud, because the snow had been all gone by then. But didn't see anything conclusive. Saw a couple of spots where something large had gone through the brush, but nothing conclusive. But it was, nice day trip to go up there.
Now, Dean, what kind of vocalizations do you get on your property?
I've heard one big aggressive growl one time, but that was only the one time. Every once in a while, I'll get a whoop. Tree knocking is quite common. I've heard a lot of tree knocking. But usually they're pretty quiet as far as vocalizations. One of my other members who lives down the valley from where my brother lives. He's got some. I haven't heard it yet, but he told me he's got some audio of some sounds he heard one night while he was out walking, and he hasn't gotten that to me yet. He just told me about it here 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was talking to him, and so I'm looking forward to hearing that as soon as he gets that over to me.
Yeah. Maybe you get a good chance to share that with us.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming up on an hour here. Walls, you got anything else for Dean before we let him go?
Yeah, Dan, when you do your investigations, is it more just like a day investigation, or have you actually got to stay? I mean, I know y'all got a lot of snow up in the north, but have y'all got to stay the night or try to do anything at nighttime or anything?
Yeah, I try to get over there when I can. I've been having most of my luck in the early evenings, just about dusk is when I've been having a lot of luck. I'm over there quite a bit in the fall because I do deer hunt too, but I go over, a couple weeks before the season starts, before everybody gets, other people are out wandering around the woods. So it's a little more quiet. I try to get over then. I'll stop over periodically during the summertime to see if anything's going on. And when I do the gifting, I usually start that about the middle of summer and go into the fall. Where my land is, it's not accessible once the snow starts, unless you got a snowmobile or a four-wheeler to get back in there, because the snow gets pretty deep pretty quick. And then there's also we get a lot of rain up here in the fall too, so it gets too muddy to get back in there with any size vehicle. And I'm currently without a four-wheeler, so I'm having to go back in with my truck or with my Jeep. And I got stuck back there once this year, so I don't really want to repeat that situation if I can help it, because it's kind of a pain in the butt to get somebody to pull you out of there.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun at all.
No. So I do the best I can about getting back there. So.
Cool deal.
Well, Dean, buddy, we appreciate you taking the time to come on.
Well, hey, I appreciate you guys listening to my stories, and I've had a good time talking to you, gentlemen.
Yeah. You're welcome back anytime, buddy. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Get some new stuff. Definitely send it to us. Send it, Wayne, and
okay.
Get a show.
You guys feel free anytime to visit my page too.
We will. Definitely will.
Yeah. Now let me pull this back up so everybody can see, because I want guys to go check you guys out too. Now the name of your Facebook group also is Seaway Valley Bigfoot Research, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So guys,
our phone number is there if you want to call us, and our email address, and also our address if you want to drop us something in the mail. We'd be more than happy to look at it. Yeah,
there it is, guys. And any of our regulars, if y'all want me to, y'all can get in touch with me if y'all need it. So yeah, there you go, Dean, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe.
You do the same, buddy. Have a good night, okay?
Okay, you too.
Cool deal.
All right, yeah, Dean's a good guest.
I like it. That was awesome. A lot of good people in here asking questions, and I want to ask Papa Two Bears. Maybe you can. Maybe send him a message if he would like to come on. And
I've got Papa. I told him to send me an email, and he just asked me what my email address is, so I'm gonna give it to him.
Tommy in here too. I believe he was a retired Navy.
I've been talking, like you said earlier. I was talking to Tommy a little bit earlier before the show came on. Yeah, Tommy's had an encounter. I don't know how Tommy feels about sharing his, but the invitation's there. I talked to Tommy. Tommy seems like a good guy. But the invitation's there, Tommy. If you want to come on and share your story with us, I know that there's some back issues, some stuff leading up to your encounter that's not comfortable talking about. So we won't get into that at all. So just the offer's on the table, buddy. It's up to you.
But I like his comment when he said something about he don't see much on the sea on the West Coast swimming.
Yeah, that's funny.
That would be something.
Let me fill this out real quick.
Oh, I'm glad everybody I'm glad everybody came on tonight.
Yeah, good. Had some good participation from our audience. We always enjoy that. We had our regular stop by, Pappy and Todd, Jonathan, and Daryl. Glad Daryl stopped by. You know who Daryl is?
Yep.
Daryl
Yep.
Owen.
Yep.
If you guys don't know, let me remind you. There's Daryl.
Yep.
Most impressive Sasquatch handprint out there. I think everybody agrees with that.
You can tell a difference from ours from that one. He's done it for a while.
Yeah, Daryl's a little bit better at it than we are.
Well,
Daryl's a good guy too.
Maybe he can give us a few pointers on how to deal with the pine needles without tearing the ground up. I mean, did the bet? Oh, he ain't seen it, has he? Well, if he goes back to the show, Daryl, if you see, we actually got something.
Daryl, yeah, I've sent Daryl a picture of it.
Oh, did you? There we go. If somebody else,
that one,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, our little thing.
Yeah, Daryl might already be gone because he ain't
Well,
commenting.
if not, I mean, he can see it again.
Daryl said show it. Hold it up there.
I'll show it again. It ain't. It's the best as we could do. Let me go to this other side.
Daryl, what he's showing is what we found this past week. A few days ago, we went up to a property and we found what looks like a partial print. It looks like from just below the toes and up. We found what looks like 5 toes.
Right there.
Yeah.
And then Pinky's way over here.
We're not the best at casting, we're amateurs. We did the best we could. The ground looked more like the 5 toes than the cast turned out looking.
Right.
But we're practicing.
But yeah,
we're getting off topic. I want to thank everybody for stopping in tonight and watching us. Thank everybody that watched us live. Everybody that's going to watch it later. We sure do appreciate it. And Walls, you got anything else before we jump off here, buddy?
Guys, just be careful out here. I know the pandemic, and just practice your social distancing and everything. Keep it safe. And if you do go squatching, be safe out there too. But these are animals. They are creatures, and they can be dangerous or not. Just be safe.
Yeah, and Joe from Beyond the Woodline commented here. I just want to share this before we get off here. Be out in Sam Houston Forest, May 8th through the 10th. He'll share anything you find with us, guys. We appreciate it, buddy. Again, guys, go check out Joe's his channel, Beyond the Woodline. We got some good guys, Joe. So maybe you'll get a few more subscribers. I'm gonna go subscribe. Walls, you need to do it too.
I will.
Beyond the Woodline.
Appreciate that.
Do what?
Papa Two Bear send you a shout out. He said he's gonna send you a shout out soon, so that'd be great. Yeah. Especially being up in that area. I like to hear stuff up in that area. That's a good place.
All right, guys. Everybody, take care of each other. Be good to each other. Take care of yourselves, and we'll get through this. I think it's coming to an end anyway, but who knows? Maybe it is.
Hope so.
All right, guys. Till next time. Be good. Thanks for stopping in.
Peace, guys.